Oh, okay. So Glenn is opening the meeting. And I'm just gonna read the purpose and description, the purpose of the public hearing and the description of the project. So the purpose of this public hearing is pursuant and in accordance with section 2307 of New York Public Authorities Law. The Auburn Industrial Development Authority is conducting this public hearing in connection with a certain proposed project as more fully defined below, to be undertaken by the authority for the benefit of 21 Allen LLC, the company. The description of that project is that 21 Allen LLC has requested the authority's assistance with a certain project consisting of the acquisition of an approximately 3-acre parcel of land located at 21 Allen Street in the city of Auburn, improved by approximately 30,000 square foot building and related site improvements, the construction or reconstruction of the existing improvements for use by the company or its affiliates as a manufacturing, warehousing, and office facility, and the installation in and around the improvements of equipment for use by the company or its affiliates as a manufacturing, warehousing, and office facility. All of that together is the project facility. The authority will acquire title to or leasehold interest in the project facility and lease the project facility back to the company. The company or its affiliate will operate the project facility during the term of the lease. At the end of the lease, the company will purchase the project facility from the authority, or if the authority holds a leasehold interest, the leasehold interest will be terminated. That is what will happen. The authority contemplates that it will provide financial assistance to the company in the form of sales and use tax exemptions and a partial abatement from real property taxes with respect to the project facility. Based upon the information provided by the company and its application, the project will involve an approximately $3,044,334 capital investment by the company with significant job creation potential. The authority estimates the following amounts of financial assistance will be provided: sales and use tax exemption of $146,485.38, real property tax abatement of $100,984.63. For a total estimated financial assistance of $247,470.01. And with that, we can open it for a comment or whatever you all would like to talk about.
Are there questions, comments, concerns on the part of anyone here? I said.
So this is a public hearing so on behalf of the city of Auburn, I just want to say that we're thrilled for this expansion for Bo-Mer Plastics. They've been a long-standing homegrown company in our community, and it's just amazing to see them, especially going into a building that's been underutilized in Technology Park. So put back into manufacturing use, and excellent jobs to be created. So from the city's perspective, we can't be happier than to see this company continue to grow. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll reiterate that. I had a chance to visit months ago. I had a general idea of what you all do down there. It was very educational for me to be down there and to see the scope of what you're doing. One of the things I like to consider when we have these agreements come before us, what type of company it is. And when I say that, are they good community members? Are they good to their employees? Are they going to be good partners long term? And I see all of that in Bo-Mer and the ownership of Bo-Mer. Makes me feel good that upcoming generation of hardworking, young, smart people that are willing to take it on and continue it. So again, I'll reiterate the chance. Sure. Thank you.
Anything else? Questions?
And it's just a fun question.
Sure.
Just about the business. How do you differentiate yourself against your competition? Because as we know in the area, we hear of all these Tessie plastics, and so I was just curious.
Oh, that's a great question. So we're totally different than Tessie and Courier. Auburn Baking Foreman still in business. They're really our only local competitor to some extent. We used to compete with them all the time. We've totally gone in a totally different direction for the type of customers we go after. So we're extremely high-end, medical based, robotic based. You know, back in the day, we used to call it a suck and ship company. It was pretty simple. Today it's totally different. Our major competitors out of the Midwest, we really don't try to the same customers. We're all kind of, there's a group of us that are very good friends, speak a lot. Courier, Tessie, they've been customers of ours, we've been customers of them, so we try to help each other out in different programs where it's not a fit, because our processes are totally different. And then on the rotation mowing side, there's really no one in New York State who is into that same process. Big out in the Midwest, big on the West Coast. But really East Coast is pretty wide open. There's a few smaller shops per se, but that's how we started out. We started out on one machine, my plant manager and I pulling malls and just trying to figure out the process and in a weird way. But no, that's how it is. And then sheet metal side, once again, so you have like 4M. Could be a competitor, but we don't compete in the same fields. We're very low on input to market. Most people don't like to touch projects that we get involved in because there's a lot of upfront engineering. That's really just about time. How can you get something to the market? That's what we do. So really, I'd say that might change tomorrow.
Right, sure.
Well, as a resident of KCF, and we'll be neighbors, so welcome to the neighborhood. It's gonna be a wonderful fit. And like I said, it's the job creation, and I rode up the elevator with the Mr. Herbert and his son, and I had asked, is this going to be different? This is the planning level, they were talking about expanding at the other location, and it's going to be at Allen Street. And again, it's the right fit for a light industrial park. It was exactly what that was designed for back in the 80s. Now you have to get your name on the board,
Right.
right, Counselor?
What's it? Oh, yes.
Yeah, the graphics.
The new board,
The
yes.
new board, that's right, there you go.
Signage.
Signage, there you go, yes.
The building's perfect for the operation that we're gonna be moving into there, which is rotational molding, which makes our earth fighter products. Right now, our ceilings aren't too high, and these ceilings are, I think they're more than double of what we're currently running, so there's not gonna be a lot of heat down on the employees. It'll just be a lot more comfortable environment for them.
And it should just fit on the piece that we put forward, which is kind of stress us a little bit. We got some size marks. We need bigger parts. The municipalities want bigger parts and what have you. So opens up a good opportunity. But there are, you know, Jim Stevens is the current owner of the building.
Oh,
So
very good.
he's been kind enough to work with me over the last 2 months. But the building, it needs a lot of work to bring it up to a manufacturing environment between utilities, water, sprinkler systems, what have you. So the one thing I want to mention, so it's been written up that first quarter, so ideally we want to be up and running first quarter. Electrical wise, we're looking at just the switch gears out. So May at this point, we really can't do anything until we have that. But it gives us the opportunity to get the rest of the facility up to snuff between sprinklers and gas. You know, we plan, we'll be closing next Friday on the building. So after that, Jim has his auction coming up next week, and then has a few weeks to clean stuff up. But after, as soon as that happens, we hope to get nice. I got on board with the gas. I get that going, get the water going, and then once we're waiting for NICEM to get back to this in regards to our load studies, which will be mid-November. So if anybody has any poll, NICEM. Trying to look at you.
She got your back. Anything I can do, I'm serious.
John moves over what we're doing, but it's like an 8-week process to review the load sheets and get back to us, which. And of course, ideally we want to have all utilities in before the end of the year, before winter season kicks in. We have to put heat in, the future manufacturing environment. it's not heated at this time, it has a heater. Yeah. So we just had a lot of work to do quick, and we're getting everybody up on board. Really didn't want to make a commitment to all our resources until we get through, until we actually close on the building. So this is greatly appreciate everybody. And you all know everybody else, especially working in New York, we do have competition out there, but we just we trying to automate, we try to do things differently than everybody else to just try to stay ahead of the competition.
Anything else? Also cutting?
When did you say you were coming on?
On November 1st, week of Friday. We were supposed to close this week, but I had to get out of it. Chase that out. Some things back up.
I would just offer, in my capacity as chair of the Engagement Board and also as an observer of economic development, I'm also very excited to see a new generation of your family interested in taking over your company. I think that Mayor Trentino's election also signals that there's a new generation of leadership coming up in our city. And I'm just really thrilled as I'm watching new companies come up and younger leaders emerging. I think that's really great in the future of our community, and we're lucky to have your knowledge being passed on to your family members, and I'm seeing other people do that. And I'm also really excited to hear you talking about how you conduct your business in response to Stephanie's question about competition. I call that co-opetition, and I think it's very healthy to find out and do business with when it makes sense with other people in your industry. And I think your modeling that also gives us something to be proud of here in Cuyahoga County. So I want to really thank you for being forward thinking in that way. And I'm excited for your futures in your company as well. Mr. Stevens, I'm one proud of the chair of the Nice to meet you and welcome to our meeting. Thank you. Anything else? Brandon, anything? You good? Are you clocking the time down there, Miss Tracy? Yeah, did you have something there?
We can just close it straight rather than.
Yeah, is there anybody else who wants to speak for or against the project? I assume nobody's against it, but.
Moment of rest.
Yeah.
We're not having
It's it's like a plan.
that.
Okay, yeah, close it.
We're closing the meeting at 5:15 p.m. The regular meeting.
Okay, so we're good to go.
So say you're invited to say if you want to be in our.
Well,
Only 15 minutes.
Yeah. Resolution, right.
Are the cocktails coming?
I don't think that. You're not quite done yet. So Gwen, if you wanna get started on the regular meeting agenda?
We'll do that. I will do that. Well, thank you for all of your engagement in the public hearing. The welcome and roll call, Tracy, would you do the roll call for me, please?
I would love to. Ms. Walter?
Here.
Ms. Leon?
Here.
Mayor Giantino?
Here.
Ms. Crawford?
Here.
Mr. Petty?
Here.
Ms. Wagner McLeod?
Here.
And then Katie is, Ms. McIntyre, Mr. Andre are excused. And that is the roll call.
Great, thank you. The next item on our agenda is unfinished business, and that conversation will be led by Tracy.
Yes, so we'll do the resolutions for the 21 Allen project are in your packet. The first one is actually a SEQR resolution. You'll see that they submitted a short environmental form and nothing really any of note there. It's already an existing building in an industrial park. We don't expect any major changes or any substantial pollution or anything like that. So the SEQR resolution is just the board accepting or basically issuing a negative declaration based on that short form EAF and indicating that the project will have no or minimal impact on the site. Is that right?
It's not a neg deck.
Oh, not a neg deck.
We're just,
It's something else.
we are designating it a type 2 action. which does not have it. So under SEQR, there are 3 types of actions. So the type 1, which is the significant impact on the environment. There's type 2, which is no significant impact on the environment. And then there's unlisted action, which are types of projects that you have to make a specific finding about. This is just renovation of the existing building. It's not changing the footprint. So this is a type 2 action. And all we do is we hope to designate type 2 with nothing to mitigate the option. Or an unlisted action that you're impact after.
Thank you. And then the second resolution is the authorizing resolution. This is what would effectively be the closing documents that would allow Bo-Mer to walk out with their sales and use tax exemption and to get the process moving of establishing that lease agreement for the property taxes. So those are the 2 resolutions on the table, unless there's any additional questions or conversation you'd like to have about the project.
So, make a motion for the CEQR resolution first.
I'll make that motion.
I'll accept a second.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Is everyone clear on what I explained?
Type 2.
What's that?
Type 2. SEQR.
So do a roll call.
Yes, it's been moved and seconded. Please, Tracy.
Ms. Walter,
Aye.
Ms. Leon,
Aye.
Mayor Jean. Ms. Evelyn Cloud.
Aye.
Ms. Crawford.
Aye.
Counselor Petty.
Yes.
Other members are excused.
Thank you.
At the authorizing resolution, which will also need a motion and a second for.
I will make a motion to vote on the authorizing resolution. Mayor Genatino?
Second.
Did you make the motion?
I thought you made the motion.
No, I am not doing that in my capacity.
I can't hear.
I'll second.
Thank you, that's okay. I was throwing my voice in your direction. So it's been moved and seconded for us to do a roll call vote on, any discussion? Did you have something else to add?
Does anybody want me to go through how these deals are structured? Okay, it's the first one, in quite a while.
Sure.
So this is gonna be structured as a lease back. Basically. Ada is the entity that possesses the sales. Tax. You yourself do not possess it. In order for Ada to grant a sale tax exemption of partial payment, real property tax, it actually has late payment interest in property. To extend that to you. And you are being appointed as agent on behalf of Ada and actually take to undertake the project. So it's as if, from a legal perspective, Ada is the one doing the project, you're sort of like some contractor, you're their agent. In order for that to happen, the documents that there's an agent agreement, which is, again, it's appoints you as agent, and then you lease the facility to Ada. Ada leases the facility back. That process of the lease and the lease back is what gives Ada the interest in the real property. Then there's a bill of sale for the equipment it's going to be incorporated into the project. You sell that equipment technically to Ada. That gives us the interest in the equipment for the purposes of sales tax exemption. Then there's a pilot agreement, which covers the partial real property taxes. So that's an agreement, again, directly with Ada, and Ada under that agreement is required to forward all the partially real property taxes to the tax jurisdiction. We hope. So that is the general structure. If anybody has any questions, great. It's a bit of a legal fiction, but
Yeah, it's like War and Peace.
yeah, it's quite a bit of paper, but IDAs in New York State do not have the power just to waive a law and say you're not taxes. Actually have to take an interest in the property itself.
Understood. So when would this take place? When this all is, so and there's some things in there that need to be cleaned up as well. But when would all of it?
So I can't, as far as that goes, I mean, I thought you would close on the property, but you know, as soon as you're done with closing on the property, we're
short answer before, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so right now, Bousquet, Holstein, our attorneys are going through it, said we briefed through it, I went through it, there's just some little things that we need to change. So, once we close on the property, we
Yeah.
get a hold of you.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
And I emailed your attorney that you listed.
Okay, yeah,
David.
David.
Okay, he has all time. I mean, I can do a copy.
Great. Okay,
So.
so then,
As soon as you're willing to move.
all right,
And actually, I'm gonna have one sign it now.
I will charge my carpet on. I'll be here till midnight.
Sorry,
Oh.
I'm just
So is there, thank you, Rob, for doing that, you know, I'll pull the train out the station and forget that important part. Is there anything else on the hearts and minds of the board? Mr. Stevens, oh, the video, it's gonna tell me. Does the board understand what our agreement is? And of course, I'm always about, we need to ask questions whenever. I invite you all to do the same. We want to make sure that we're all on the same page. All right, anything else?
No,
So-
I would just say, if anybody thinks of anything.
So we have a motion and a second on the floor to approve the authorizing resolution for this project. Would you do a roll call? Please? Thank you. Ms. Walter? Yes.
Ms. Leon,
I,
Mayor Jane Camp.
Aye.
Mr. Ramatad,
Yes.
Ms. Crawford,
I'm.
Counselor Petty.
Yes.
Now you're done.
all right, thank you very much.
You should go celebrate somewhere.
And I even.
Yeah, well, y'all come down, once we get home, we're gonna come down there, thank you.
Thank you all. So nice to meet you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very nice to meet you
Thank
too.
you. Thank you.
Thank you very
I'll
much.
see you again, appreciate it,
Thank you very much.
put the hammer down.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Nice to see you too. Thank you very much. Thank you. Nice to see you.
Great place to look out of your.
And you guys all want to tell me you're gonna.
Oh,
Hi, it's so nice to meet you. Congratulations. We're proud.
Like a gate.
I know, it's not bad.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. See you guys. I'm more minded on.
Good night.
Congratulations.
Yeah, no, I'll take.
Have a good night. Thank you.
Next on the agenda, we need to take a motion to go into executive session to discuss this item.
Not yet, so I would say let's do the 2025 budget and then maybe go back to the minutes.
Okay, great. All right, so the next item on the agenda will be a review of our 2025 budget. Is this the full finance company report that we're gonna be doing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
So last time we went over the 2025 budget, it was presented, so I think now if anyone still has any questions, or we can go ahead. We can approve the budget this meeting, right? Tracy?
yes, so the idea tonight would be to get the budget approved so that we can get it submitted in Paris on time. It's due by November 1st. I'm looking for it here, and just so you are aware of what's in the packet. Gosh.
I think it was we're really towards the end.
Yeah, there it is. Okay, so this is what we looked at last month, and this is what the finance committee reviewed again, and recommended approval by the board. And then this second page is really just how it's actually gonna show up in Paris, which is really uninformative. So that's why we have two separate versions of it. But, we do need to see this and be approving the budget as it's going to appear, in addition to what we're actually planning. So. But I don't think the committee made any changes other than what was discussed at the board meeting. So that is the recommendation of the committee at this time, right?
So we've had a couple of opportunities to review the budget while it was in process. This budget reflects any additional inputs that we had from the board. As you heard, there's no changes. So if you are all okay, I would be glad to entertain a motion to accept the 2025 budget. Thank you, Councilwoman. Second,
A second.
thank you, Stephanie. Is there any additional discussion? Tracy, does this need to be a roll call? No? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Passed.
And then you want to just circle back to the minutes real quick and get those out of the way.
Sure. So the minutes were sent to you in our packet. Everybody again had a chance to review them. Are there any changes, revisions that need to come before the board? Good to go. I'll entertain a motion to accept the October minutes. Yeah. Second.
I'll second.
This is how we
Come on, guys.
a difficult challenge. Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? Abstain. You're abstaining? I was present, yes. Got it. One abstention.
And yes, now I would love for motion to go into executive session.
I would entertain a motion to enter into executive session.
You can say that, you already know about it,
You're sure?
as long as everybody else is okay with that. Sorry.
Yes.
I don't actually have the authority to say that.
I think the able to, yes, that's fine. I just always think the James. We good, Rob? We in alignment, we compliance?
Yeah.
We need to.
Alrighty, well, thank you, Jenny.
That was
for
good.
everything for us. I
Dave was my
appreciate
grand. No pleasure.
it. So just for literally, that's great. What we were gonna focus on today for board education was to take another look back at the Camoin report. And since we were even made this decision, the information did come forward from the CCDC that they will not be immediately moving into the search process for the executive director. And that they are continuing to be in a decision-making. That doesn't reduce our need to understand the content of the Camoin report, because I still think items and recommendations are relevant to what we do as an IDA. Because a couple of you have to leave, I'd like to just maybe consider maybe hanging on to that topic, but just briefly getting your general reaction to this new piece of information that came into us. And then I want to let you know, as a result of that, in this discussion, I would like to meet with the mayor and our economic development team, because I think we're going to need to make a decision about how we want to continue to operate while they are building this bicycle and riding it at the same time. It looks like a hire wouldn't happen until sometime in May, Tracy. Did I understand that correctly?
Yeah.
Okay. And so we have to have an in the meantime strategy, and I don't want us to be in a working from a place of ambiguity for that period of time. I think that there's some things we specifically need to do. So I just wanted to generally hear from you all, about holding the Camoin discussion, and just quickly giving me a sensibility of where you all are as it relates to the current status of CCDC. A lot of that's driven by they want to let the county get its budgeting process together. I hear it's a tough budget season, so there's going to be internal decisions. They don't want to get ahead of what fiscally might happen. So just any head, heart, or gut reactions to where we are now.
For me personally, I think I want to see how the budget process goes, and if they commit long term, or if it's a year by year.
Right.
If it's gonna go year by year like it has in the past, that concerns me,
Mhm.
because I think they're gonna have trouble locking somebody in.
Right.
If it's, this is what we're gonna do for the next 3 years,
Right.
that gives me some hope that it'll be a stable situation.
Yeah. Other head, heart, gut reactions to this new information. Every answer is correct, by the way. I'm kind of being nosy in preparation for my conversation with the mayor.
Yeah, I agree with, Mayor, I think that, you know, when board, you know, collected and compiled a lot of information, and, the history, you know, I want to see a clear vision from CCDC that does not continue to put us in this murky situation where we don't know how things are funded, or, you know, where there's no clear communication. Because that was the big critique of, the past 3 years. So, with that being said, it aligns with what the mayor said, and with what you're gonna be meeting with, Jenny and Jimmy. You know, I also think that, you know, it's important to, you know, see the value and where we are right now as far as, you know, keeping the ship going, with MRB, just as kind of like as for moving forward, just making sure we have the administrative, things in place, so.
Any other head, heart, or gut reactions to that? Do you have any deal breaker stuff on your hearts about this at all?
Well, when I see that they're already looking to have to raise the property cap. And I can't even say that I'm cautiously optimistic at this point. It seems as though there's, to say it's gonna be a tough budget year with what's going on at 160 Genesee Street, all the various leased properties, I don't think you're gonna be able to sustain it. It's, I hope I'm wrong, and I hope that what the group was looking at last April comes to be, but, I think that if they can't put something together within the first few months, I think we need to look
Yeah,
at just self-sustaining.
yeah,
I think, rather than to string along, and again, Tracy, the collaboration between Jenny and Tracy, whether it's just a good camaraderie, good, they're on the same page, they work together. Things are happening.
today was a case.
That's right, things are happening.
Tessa, Stephanie?
I would agree, I mean, just being newer and everything that I've witnessed, there's still momentum that's going, and we did base the budget on. We're gonna be using MRB. I don't, there's not, like, we're not on time constraint, right? I think we're just getting a feel right now, of what direction we're heading.
I think one of the things that I'm leaned in to the process is primarily because of the recommendation that we reestablish a one-stop that has every entity under one umbrella, right? Ideally, that would be the best case scenario. I also feel really strongly that it takes a really long time to bring up an organization. Just the concept and philosophy behind it, and then you add all of the operational kind of tasks, that even if they get to May and get that person in, there's gonna be still a lot of building that business, if I can refer to it that way. As the chair, it's really important to me that I'm gonna use this language, stabilize ourselves, and give ourselves permission to imagine how we will do our work while they're figuring this all out. And we're already seeing that we can make process in our current business model. I want us to be comfortable, because this comes up in discussions, even when I met with the marketing committee. Well, we really don't know what's gonna happen with the county, therefore, I think because we know we at least have, I'm gonna say up to 18 months, that we need to develop our own strategy for now, allow this to evolve. Keep in our hearts and minds that the one-stop model, those are simply recommendations. In the Camoin model could very well be the ideal situation, but I think this gives us an opportunity to operate in isolation of that entity. So that when the entity comes up, we go back to the table, we'd have a better sense of what we'd be looking for. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to, and I'm available all the time because I have to marinate and stuff, right? So please send me additional input. But my goal from my position as the chair is that, I'm down for whatever, as long as we all agree. But I think it's critically important that we reduce the use of the language that we're going to do this until. I think we have to make a decision about what we're going to do. At least we know we have at least 18 months and operate that way with confidence and be able to communicate that confidently. Because right now, everything has been contingent on, well, we really don't know what the county's gonna do. Well, we do know what they need to do for themselves. It's actually their business for them to figure this out. So I think in the meantime, we need to be operating at the top of our game, knowing that that opportunity could present itself to us in the future. And based on what the entity looks like, decide how we would like to come to the table. That's my story, I'm sticking to it, but I don't want to pull up on the mayor and have the conversation without knowing that. Go ahead.
Another thing with the Camoin report, because I was there at the legislative
Right.
meeting in December last year, and they were talking about, we need to commit $700 and some odd thousand dollars to this if we're really gonna be serious about economic development, and I saw people looking like deer in the headlights, like, well, how much? And then I also heard at the session was that in Ithaca, Rochester, they have a more altruistic relationship with Cornell or with, ULR or what have you, where they have private businesses that will put forth money. And it was a wonderful thing to read, and it sounded wonderful, but I don't think that it's realistic where we are today.
Right, I would agree with that. I would
I
agree with that.
just don't think it's real,
Right.
we're not there yet.
And the thing that we'll point back to when I want to bring the Camoin report back in the context of what we think we'll do next. Because part of what that was speaking to is the distinction between the 20th century model of economic development and what's
Correct.
evolving in the 21st century. And so I think that regardless of where we end up, paying attention to at least the trending data can inform how we continue to do business as the city of Auburn via our IDA. So I don't want us to completely shelve that. I think the trending data in that is speaking to everybody in the economic development space. So for us right now, I want us to have a handle on what is in terms of that trend data, so that it informs the decisions we make about our how in the meantime. So that if there's things in there, best practices that we add to how we operate, we will already be practicing how to conduct business that way, whether that all comes to fruition or not. So I don't want us, because that may not come to fruition, to ignore that there is literally some trending data that makes sense, and there's people as close as an hour away from us that are operating in that model. Operation Oswego is a model that keeps being presented when I'm in spaces that I think we should take a look at. And the marketing committee, we talked about maybe inviting people as guest speakers to our meeting. So I'd like us to stay open to the information and open to an outcome while we stabilize how we're going to function. I'm gonna say, let's look at a 2-year period minimally, and just kind of lay a handle. In that spirit, as I've been processing this with Tracy, one of the things that we want to do is put together a work plan in partnership with all of us. Of course, Tracy would kind of outline that, so we can be clear about what we're doing, how we're acting on our priorities, and that the mayor, if I'm invited to speak about this, can be speaking articulately, confidently about what we're doing, because we know how to wrap around the messaging as it relates to the CCDC. Right? So that's kind of where I'm coming from. And y'all know how to find me. If you have a dream tonight, then let's go. All the breaks is. Let me know. And then Mayor, we'll connect, I'll have my assistant connect with Rhonda, and then I'll see when I think we might have this process anyway. But when I can get on your calendar, and then you can invite whoever that you'd like. And if any of you would like to come, and we're legally doing the meeting in the right way, that's where we like to get one of those people out of the game. We'll be good. All right. Tracy, do you have anything to add?
It's just two kind of FYIs and logistical things.
Right.
One is CCIDA met last week They actually put a contingency line in their budget to, so that they can get office space. Right now, like Michael's working out of the back of his car, and then when he wants to meet with like an investor, he has to like scramble to get conference room space, so they're actually looking at getting space, so that they can have upfront, and also to potentially, increase Michael's ability to be more of a first stop, so that there's someone that people can call and then he can refer out, or like having him, giving him a little bit more flexibility to do work outside of strictly CCNP work. So if someone comes and says, I need help with a Restore New York grant, he has a little more flexibility to work with that, or they want to work on a CFA. So they're putting some more money into their budget to like professionalize their operation in this interim period, because they also expect it's gonna be 12 to 18 months before we really kind of have a good sense of what's happening. So that's one thing I wanted to put out there. He did throw out there that if we wanted to share space, I think one of the things that I'm trying to figure out is like, we have City Hall. And it's really a matter of lives, more so than anything else, because I can always get work here. But you know, that's one thing that he kind of tossed out there, is like, is there space for CCIE to work together in this time period to put forward a professional front while this transition is happening, and while we are all working on our own work plan over the next 12 to 18 months. So I'm just tossing that out there, and that they've done that to be able to start moving that forward. And I do think that, I think, so CPIDA is having the same conversation, even with CCDC. I think they've come to terms with the fact that it's probably gonna be 12 months, and I think if you were to ask, like Steve at this point, you'd probably say it makes sense to have a 12 to 18 month work plan. Because, and I think it makes sense for Ada, just as someone who is staffing Ada, to have that work plan during that time. To Gwen's point, get clear on what we want from systems. And what is it, do we want to be fully embraced and fully brought into that staffing structure? Is it more of a service contract where they're doing pipeline development? And, you know, I think that that conversation, I don't know that anyone's really fully talked through it. And so I think there's a conversation that needs to be had there, because I think CCDC, well, I know CCDC is still trying to think like, what does the sample look like? And I think it would be helpful for them to know specifically from Ada. And we sent that letter, so I think they,
Yeah.
but.
Jimmy, I know you have to leave, so I just want to say this.
So, but just know that these conversations are happening at 12 to 18 month timeline is aligning with all these other conversations.
So of our requests, the thing that's critical to me at this point, we know that we have an appointee, should they reopen the search and create the committee. We still have on the table our request to have 2 people appointed to that board of directors as expeditiously as possible. The third piece of this is to what matters to me right now too, is the communication strategy. Because the optics of what you're describing me will give the appearance to people who don't know the innards that the one stop is evolving and developing, and Michael is the executive director.
Oh, no, that is definitely not.
Right, but because we are inside, we understand that. The optics of opening up a one stop. So I would just like, when CCDC is clearer about what they're talking about, if someone would maybe come to a meeting and talk to us about it, as well as I'm still interested, I'll have this conversation with Aileen about that communication strategy, right? Because if we start operating in the way I know we have, if we operate more publicly in the way we're operating now, if I was somebody that'd be like, what's going on, right? So my thing about the lack of communication is, I understand what has to happen to get to that, whatever the defined end game is. It's what the optics of this is in the meantime that I think affects us and the mayor's capacity to talk about economic development, right? Because there's not clear communication coming out of the county. So that would be my thought.
Can I offer something that I think would help? I think for Ada's sake, the work plan within 6 months.
Right.
From today,
Feels okay,
if I feel if this board feels that there's not been any significant progress. We can wait 12 or 18 months.
I would agree.
I would say 6 months from today.
Right.
If there's, the communication hasn't improved, if there's no plan, if the funding's not there. I'd say within the 6 months, we should have a plan B, but at the same time, we cannot wait indefinitely, because I'll be honest with you. This board has been waiting indefinitely for 3 years,
Mhm.
for 3 years.
That would be true.
And I feel like we've had this conversation before. If the board's okay, 6 months from now, if this is still the discussion, there's still a lack of communication. There's still things going on where it's not clear who's the first. Who should be
That's the
communicated to
part.
first, then we need to basically have that, where our work plan will have already been shifted to plan B.
Yeah, I'm open to that, and counselor, as an operating principle. So here's what I'd like to do, would be to, with your support, really have an opportunity to sit down with the mayor, the economic development team, and just have an on the table discussion about this. I also, if it's all right with you, would like to invite Tracy to start putting the framework together for a 2025 work plan, because we're gonna have to do the work anyway. And then I think we can come back and have a fuller discussion with putting the 6 months on the table. And know that even for us, in some ways, this will be like building a bicycle and riding it at the same time. What I'm not comfortable with is us always adding the tagline of, well, this is what we're doing for now, but I think it's fine. I just think that it would be helpful to everybody in the ecosystem if the county would communicate publicly what they're doing, because we already have a viable option on the table. I think it's important that we be a team player in a way that works in our best interest, but it'll be a lot easier for us to play on the team if we know what's going on. That's my problem.
I think part of the conversation too needs to be is plan B.
Right,
Say this, don't take this the wrong way, but for what we're investing in MRB on a
Right.
monthly basis, we could create a position in City Hall.
right,
To oversee economic development as a
Right.
whole.
right.
For the
Well,
city of Auburn.
I think that
For
there's
what
multiple.
we're probably halfway there to creating a position with what we're paying our
Right.
group.
Right, right. And also, we have to keep in mind that our consultant also serves on that board, so we've been talking about.
Yeah, I know, it's a weird.
She knows, she knows, but we've been talking about the interesting tension around that, so. The base for me is that as long as, and well, if you wake up in the night, you need to call me, I stay up late, holler at your girl. But what I'm really saying is that if the consensus right now is that we need to really figure out how to stabilize and solidify our activity. We're saying for us, 24 months, and with the 6 month point, that there'll be some evidence that we're seeking to discern what we're really doing. That sets me up to then enter into this conversation with the mayor, the economic development team, and whoever else can be in the room. Because we have to get clear about what we're going to do, so we can talk about it. When I'm gonna talk to the county chair about this. The reason I want her to communicate about it is because whatever we say at this point, we need to be able to say in the context of everything else that's going on, we're gonna look cool. Right? I'm not interested in having looking anyone cool, we don't know what you do. So if that doesn't happen, and then I think we create our own messaging around it, but I think for now. That investment was made, those of us who are aware of the recommendations are there. I just want to stay in that room for as long as I can, till we at least understand what the strategy is, how they're gonna communicate about it. And I just need them to be invited to think about the optics of opening up a storefront and kind of having things shuffled through that, if I'm hearing that correctly. And then I also think, Tracy, we've been talking about this, so Tesla, you got this look on your face like, what the hell?
And I would say that it's
So-
really about bolstering capacity.
Yes.
They're like CCIDA is looking to bolster capacity, but development, because they're finding what's happening. now.
For their IDA or as part of the ones.
Well, for the count, like
Got it.
there being a backstop
Right.
for that activity that's not happening because there's no staff.
Got
for
it,
the-
right,
So they're looking at just expanding their capacity to do some of that work.
right,
Because if there's no one helping with grants, there's no companies coming for
Right.
pilots, so that's really what they're
Got
talking
it.
about. and they're talking about putting a professional face on CCIDA.
Mhm.
And it has been brought up that there's willingness to work in collaboration with EDM on doing something. We're
Great.
not talking about creating a one-stop, we're
Yeah.
talking about both.
How- Got it, I hear that. So when there's a sensibility, and I'll reach out to county chair about this, that there's some semblance of even a 12 to 24 month plan for the CCDC, that sounds like it will include the CCIDA. I would love for Steve to come here and tell us what that is. So, and also be able to talk to us about how are you gonna talk about it, so we know how to talk about it, because the mayor still has the need to talk about economic development and our IDA as a resource that's gonna bolster that. So, you know, I'm being passionate about this, just because like, this is an important piece of business for us. Not my personal feelings about anything, but we do need to stabilize it and monitor the optics, and they can't operate in isolation of us at this point around from an optics perspective.
I think the next milestone is.
I should be saying y'all.
I think the next milestone is the budget.
Yeah, I don't know.
Is it January 1st? I can't remember the.
I think December.
December 20th.
So we'll know by the end of the year.
And there have been no, like, budget
Yeah, we haven't
hearings,
seen
it's not like the city where, you know, department heads coming forth, and I'm just making an observation and sharing.
Keep going, I like
What I feel like, and
Karen could be an investigative reporter, right?
so it's,
I know.
She's got Zillow in her
I
head.
know.
She's got.
So are we comfortable with where we are?
I think the likelihood that you're gonna find out what the optics are is at the state of the county address.
Well, that'll be a good thing,
That'll be my guess.
because in the meantime, then we have, that puts us in the position to craft our own, right, our own messaging around this. And I think we can do that and not be, being negative about it. I just think we have to accept our reality and our own obligation to serve the business community that we are created to serve. And I'm not, as the chair, willing to let our optics be that we're half stepping or being ambiguous, because it's not necessary. Okay? And then Robert will make sure I don't go to the county jail. All right, so thank you for that adjustment. Tracy, do we have enough people to vote on anything else that's left?
Yes, there's only, there's 2 more votes, one on the
Thank you,
bills.
Mayor, for your time.
Yeah, and even if the mayor leaves, we still have.
Are you good?
Okay,
Yeah.
Okay.
all right, thank you, Mayor. Have fun with your family.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
Yeah, the rest of it should be.
Great.
I think I promise.
Do your thing.
So next is the bills, so those are in the package, I did send out an update yesterday, because we did receive another pilot payment or 2. And so we received a pilot payment for 2024, and then we did finally receive that, that correction from Nucor for 2023, so that will allow us to clear out what's owed to Mac Studios for 2023, but also clear up what's left in 2023 in terms of credits. So that's all good. So what I have on the sheet here is all of the disbursements to the city county school, as well as a bill for the public hearing notice for the Bo-Mer public hearing, and 2 months of billing for because the new bill just came out yesterday. So
And Tracy and I read that this reporting process so that we
I'm
can.
gonna hand that down to Tracy.
Well,
I didn't know.
I'm confident we can get you one if you want. And Hester, do you need, Tracy's that all from, we need to call on the approval of the
just
books,
if you want.
the bills?
Yep, just a motion on that.
So I will accept the motion on the payment of our bills.
Make a motion.
Thank you, Ms. Stephanie. A second.
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Cuddy. Any more discussion? Questions, comments, concerns? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
You opposed? Abstentions? No, I just gotta say it. I gotta say all of this. All right, it's been passed.
Tessa, do you have anything on the treasurer's report?
I was just gonna say, we met October 3rd, the September, so we have reviewed the September reports, the approved bills from last month to get paid. And the pilot bills did go out, and Tracy mentioned that we've been receiving them. And that big notices and I see there's more information in the business, so. I was just thinking,
Do we need to accept the treasurer's report or? Thank you for the information. Everybody hanging in, I'm watching the clock. All right, we got 8 minutes, so that's a good part about it. All right, Tracy and Kate's not here, but Tracy, want to talk about the business items?
Yes, so the first one, so you might recall there was an outstanding late fee for JDJ from 2023. We resent that bill and got word from, their bank that, from Kelly Ridley at Tompkins, who actually pays those bills, that they actually didn't get a correct bill until March, and so that's why they didn't pay until March. And someone had said that they were gonna waive that late fee because of the issue with the billing. I don't really have a record of this, but I am confident that that's the case. I don't question Kelly's information on this. So we're just looking for a motion from the board to waive that late fee so that we can get it off the books. And due to it being an error on the billing side.
I'll entertain that motion. The motion is to waive the late fee for JPL. Counselor Cuddy. Is that a question or
No,
a second? Thank you, Tessa. Any more discussion, questions, concerns? If not, all those in favor? Thank you, passes.
The last item is just to chat about, or just to call to your attention, the invoice and disbursement report for the pilots. This was also updated yesterday. We so far have received 2 pilot payments for 2024. Those are both, will both be dispersed with these bills that we have approved. And this whole sheet is really intended to keep us on track, because as you know, when a payment comes in, you need to put it out within 30 days. So I'll be bringing everything that's come in to every meeting, so we can disperse on a monthly basis. And these are all due January 1st, so we still have some time that we'll still see some coming in, but this is where we stand now. You can see the amount that was billed and the amount that's going out to the taxing jurisdictions. And at the end, the totals at the bottom should match.
and all the bills have been sent out.
And all the bills will have been sent. Yes, all the bills have been sent out. The invoices went out 2 weeks ago, I think. 2 weeks ago.
yeah, Tracy
And
brought this
I'll-
to our finance committee. And this is something that, I think it's a very clear picture to even anyone who isn't necessarily finance, exactly. Where you can see easily as our due diligence or fiduciary responsibility. We'll see that we're billing, we're receiving, we're sending them out. Again, just falling back to our audit report, so, we have really appreciated Tracy coming up with this because I think it's gonna help everyone to feel more comfortable about everything. And those payments that were received, those are what was approved on the disbursement report, so they will be falling out in time.
And I think the key piece of this is that it's evident that we are practicing what we agreed to do from a corrective action. And I'd just like to remind us that Elaine is a good colleague and confident, but she also fundamentally said it's inexcusable for us not to be aware and understanding what's going on. We don't have to be the technicians, but we have to be the monitors of the activities. So Tessa, again, I want to thank you so much. Tracy, Karen, for getting us organized in this way, because we want to be a better client to Dana Bowen. I really be like, girl. Any quick board updates? Tracy, is that everything from you? Do we need to do anything with this? Just know that it's there.
Just know that it's there, and you'll be seeing this until everything is out the door.
Great.
And I'm sorry, were we passing this packet along?
No, I just thought someone wanted it.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I'm gonna have Tracy bring a couple of packets.
Oh.
Sorry.
As this came this way, I decided to pass it one back. I don't.
And I started to
Tracked by invoice number. I'm curious. They tracked by
Yeah.
invoice number. You said that.
Yeah, I think it's looking at your transaction report that you had. Where there's, it's active, so the invoicing numbers that she's using ties right to it. So like, for instance, for Present City, it says PC. Gotcha. I was just curious to get how that was organized. Thank you so much.
And again, feel free to continue asking questions. We need to know what we need to know. And then we've got a lot of technical experts around us to help us understand it. All right,
One last question. As I'm going through our finance committee notes. Does the audit committee have a meeting scheduled in
Yes.
November? That's all right.
Yep, we talked about that at last month's finance committee, getting them activated as well. And Katie's not here to talk about it, but the marketing committee met. And we just had kind of a philosophical, I shared some ideas for them, and I we have people, very talented people that will be able to align the marketing activities with our strategic priorities. So they have a lot of really good ideas. Because of where we are right now, we were thinking the committee for now, 6 months is my shift, to just get basic, make sure the website's in compliance, make sure that it's still doing for us what we needed to do. You know, thinking about how we want to communicate about the things that we do, how do we engage the people that we serve through the projects, maybe bringing them in to highlight some things. So know that they have a lot of great ideas. We're very excited. There's a lot of great expertise, and I just kind of shared a leadership philosophy with them. So we should be getting some reports from them. Anything going out in the Wild Wild West we need to know about? Any board updates? Good? All right, if not, Rob, are we good? Did you have something else for us? I'll stay, sign my life away.
You're gonna sign your life away.
I will. I really have to have purple tongue. I think we should have some paint and supper. All right, if that's the case, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Karen, seconded by Councilor Cuddy.
Okay.
Thank you all for your hard work. We are making progress, okay? And I really appreciate your willingness here. Tracy, you are really a gift, and Rob, thank you for keeping us in line. Cause I only know what I know. All right, well, yeah, go home and be with your families.
That's,
What's everybody having for dinner? I hope stop.
And we saw the wetlands.
Uh,